contact. They touch once, twice, 3 times.
Oh, trouble! Oh, no, Rocky into the wall. Big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air.
They're beating and banging. Burn on the bottom, Cosman up top.
Cosman, I think. No, Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here?
Here comes the canvas. Get your foot down. He's got it. He's got it. Canvas is going to win.
The opening round of Daytona is now behind us, and for many, the real test of pace begins. But even compared to Florida, there won't be a lack of speed here in Austria. Deceptively simple, the mere 9 turns on this track forces everyone to strive for perfection. We'll see who can reach it as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on FDF.GG. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Michael Johnson and Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson. Michael, we come here across the pond to the first of our European tracks, and boy, it's a doozy to begin with.
This track, yeah, it's a doozy. It's only 9 turns, which sounds pretty easy, but I can tell you from experience, nothing is easy on this track. Out of bounds, very easy to run the car a little bit wide, especially when running through Lauda, the first corner. You run up around Lauda, you've got this giant sausage curb getting in your way, and right here, taking a look at turn, that would be Lauda, I think. Oh, no, sorry, that one was Remus. And then going through there, you do get a little bit of leeway on the outside to make this run all the way down the hill to Schlossgold. And then now is where things start to get complex. You really have to use every last millimeter of track available to you and be very, very careful. See how wide he gets out there. He's all the way into the red and white curbing, and right here gets way outside. That was right on the limit, if not even just a little bit beyond. But if you're gonna make a good time, you absolutely must use, like I said, every last millimeter of track.
Yeah, this is Jeffrey Ooms, our provisional pole sitter right now, but there's only a minute left in qualifying. He went pretty far wide there, but I think it should still be within the bounds. Let's see if they count it as he crosses the line. They do, but it's not faster. It is still 18.8, the quickest lap. Dion Fiallo is the nearest in second by only a 10th behind. And Soup, you talked about it last round where Daytona is such a unique beast. How much difference do you think we're going to see with the drivers here without as much as the slipstream, but still a little bit of it at a track like this?
You talk about the difference. I've been away from sim racing for a couple years. So many things have changed, but I got back. One thing has not changed, and that is drivers complaining. And what they were complaining about this time, it's all going to be about incidents. Keeping the car on the pavement is going to be very, very important. It's so easy to pick them up here because you can go faster. And Joe, you may want to even hang on to them and use them almost like a push to pass. Maybe save some of those incidents and run somebody down. But be careful. You get to the number. What's the number? 24, I believe it is. You get to that, and you're off to the Amelia Earhart Bar and Grill, I like to call it, where you disappear and never heard from again.
Yeah, it is an instant DQ if they get over 24 incidents. And there's also slowdown penalties here if you go wide on the exits of some corners. So you got to be careful of that for sure. Ooms crosses the line the final time in qualifying, not able to go quicker. Behind him looks like Billy Smith is going to be the next one in the 901, trying to see if he can get higher than 5th position. Dion Fiallo's off the track, so is Paul Darling. They're not going to be able to topple Jeffrey Ooms. Olsen is still out there, so we'll see if he's able to go quicker if Billy Smith isn't the one to be able to take that pull away. But he's down to the line now, and as he crosses, it's a 19.4. That's going to be just a couple hundredths faster. That's not going to get him a position, unfortunately. Is behind him, that looks like it actually will be Nathan Olsen, the next one across in the 32. Bright purple machine here, coming around the final couple corners of Rindt and A1. And I'm showing him as being slightly quicker on his lap currently, so this is boding well for him. Let's see what he's got underneath him as he crosses the timing line. Unfortunately, looks like it's not going to count. So that ends our qualifying here today. The grid is set for round 2 of the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge. Up at the top of the order, Jeffrey Ooms has the pole with Dion Fialo starting to his outside. Paul Darling will begin in P3, and Nathan Olson will be in 4th. Billy Smith, good enough for P5 as Vance Bow will start from 6th position. Next row has Nate Krachelski on the inside and Paul Gibson on the outside. After that, it's David Williams, and Dan Neese is going to round out the top 10, Bill.
Good to see David Williams back with us. We got 8 more of the LMP2s to do here. Carter Kundinger sits in 11th. He's going to be inside of Mo Islam. Bob the Blade Tinsey sits in the Baker's Dozen spot. He's going to be flanked by Joshua Hallam-Wolf, Leif Peterson, and last round's really the hot driver sitting in the Sweet 16 spot is Dominic Dornberg. Chris Sherburne and Justin Kirby round out the prototypes. Michael?
Looking at our GT class, we've got our first row with David Shutt on the pole with Ross Booth alongside of him. Looking down the field here, we've got Ryan Robertson with Ryan Wasilewski. The Ryan and Ryan show on row 2. Next row, we're going to have Christopher Pites with Wayne Castile. And then we're going to have, Robert Cast. And then the first of our AM drivers is going to be Luke Schmidt in row 13. Looking at row 14, Jesse Lyon with Bradley Haley, Young Park, and Joey Atterbury on row 15. Joe?
Mitchell Johnson starts 13th in class, or at least of the GTs, I should clarify. Matthew Gosh will be in 14th. And you've got Corey Insing and Nathan Jew. On the next row, it's Eric Thomas and Ed Eisenring. From there, you've got Dale Green and Johan Shirazi rounding out the top 20 of the GT cars. Franco Margarella will be in the 21st spot. Trent Brown and then Nicholas Davis follow him. Ian Simon starts 24th. Robert Rattray down in at 25th on this one. He's got some work to do. Jason Iverson starts 26th and Paul Slavonic 27th. Then it's Sheldon Rosenbaum. Fortunately not performing too well in the amateur class in this race, starting from 28th in the GTs. William Marsala will start 29th and David Perry 30th. From there, you've now got Andrew Lunsford in 31st and Dean Kerr behind him. Chad Dick starts 33rd and Scott Angelo in the 34th position. Chad Nobles begins in P35. Shane Hunter starts 36th. It'll be Mark Kudrowski after that, and Matt Scherf, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Patrick McDaniel, and Jake Hickson round out our 59 cars out there today. And just about ready to go as they're in their drivers' meeting on the grid right now, waiting for that to finish up before they take off here today. You can tell that it's a little bit late in the day with it starting in mid-November, early in the day, I should say. It was late in the day during qualifying. Now they've switched over. It's 8 a.m., so it's going to be a sunrise race here in the Austrian mountain soup, and we'll see the temperatures probably go up just a little bit over this hour race, but not terribly much since it is so early in the morning. But what's better than the Austrian Alps with the sun just cresting over the rise?
Indeed. Michael, one thing I noticed is look at the variety of cars. Last round was so heavily Porsche, and it's still, Porsches are still there again, but now we got quite a collection. We got a Mercedes out there, we got a McLaren, a Lamborghini, we got a handful of Ferraris, and BMWs and an Audi.
Yeah, BMW on the pole today. That was a very difficult request from last week's race. And hey, if they're sitting up there today, can he stay up there? David Shutt holding the pole in that BMW. And even if you look through our top, let's say 5, we've got Ferrari, McLaren, one Porsche in there. But it's still a fairly heavy Porsche field. But we'll see how things shake out in the race. Qualifying is qualifying, race is race, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, I do actually have some info on why we're seeing such a good variety through the field this time in terms of positioning. That is by design. They actually put some ballast on the Porsche, the BMW, and the Mercedes. The Porsche most of all because, well, for obvious reasons, if you watch the last race, 20 kilograms extra, and then it's 8 kilograms on the BMW, 5 kilograms on the Mercedes. The rest of the makes of cars have all remained the same. It does seem to have definitely shaken things up here, and I'd call that a success right now. I'm sure the Porsche drivers wouldn't, as they're probably having to deal with a whole different handling than what they experienced in the first race. But as we come down to the last 15 seconds, Michael, we're just about on our way.
Well, BOP is as much a part of real life racing as it is here in the sim. I'm glad to see it, quite honestly. I think a lot of drivers do complain, and we were talking about drivers complaining. Yeah, it's not just in the sim world, but BOP helps keep the racing exciting. And I for one, welcome our new BOP overlords.
I'm the same, honestly. Yes, it'd be fun to be able to see what the manufacturers would be able to do, but we've already witnessed what happens when you just have a war of who's got the biggest wallet, and it's not really fun in the end. So this gives us a lot better entertainment and keep things much more interesting. So we get ready to take off. Jeffrey Ooms will have control. It will be a split start once again, and we'll head off to the GT beginning once we get through these guys up through Lauda in the LMP2s. So as they come off of Rent, the pace car is going to be in, and Ooms has to wait until the start zone, which will be after the DRS board here on the front stretch. Don't worry, they don't have DRS on the LMP2s. This is just the marker. And there is the green flag. He goes immediately, does not wait, and gets a very good jump over Fiallo as he flies down into the first corner. Going to be too wide for third place, as on the outside, Nathan Olson is going to have to hang tight, and he keeps within the track boundaries. Not seen anybody really flying too far wide, so we got a clean start in the prototypes. What is going on, Michael, in the GTs?
GTs, we are holding start and just waiting for that last moment, and there he goes. It looks like a good start for Ross Booth. Ryan Robertson trying to hold on to position, but that Ferrari of Ryan Robertson is trying to sneak up the inside to take that P2. We have, good launch off the corner, though, from the Porsche. The Porsche was able to use that rear end weight and put Ross Booth back up into P2 as we watch him streaking down the straight towards turn 3.
And Joe Fiallo got to the lead in the prototypes. He got the pass made in corner number 4. So we got a new leader, Ohms, for the first time this season. He's looking at the back of a car.
Yeah, and also there was an incident for Dan Neese coming up into Remus, so he found himself, unfortunately, facing the wrong way as we watch the top of the LMP2s with Fiallo leading. Darling still sits in third, keeping them honest as they get ready to complete the first lap of the race. You can expect at least one scheduled pit stop for this one, with it being 60 minutes as opposed to what we saw with a 90-minute race in the first round.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to really pay attention to their fuel usage. It is a game that gets played all the time in racing. How much fuel are you using? Are you comfortable being behind another car and doing a little lift and coast? Because, hey, you can save a ton of fuel that way. And when it comes time to get into the pit, you don't have to take on quite as much. So your pit stop, your stopped time in the pit lane gets to be a whole lot shorter.
Well, these three look to be maybe playing a bit of that game at this stage.
Bob the Blade Tinsey had problems. I think it was corner number 4. He got into it and slid around and then caught a little bit of Dominic Dornberg. I think maybe Dominic got away with it.
Yeah, it looked like side-to-side contact from what I could see on my replay. We'll try to get that in a little bit, but everybody's still running right now. All 58 cars are still out there. We must have missed someone on the start. Not sure who didn't take to the green flag as we jump back now to the GT leaders. In fact, this is the battle for the lead, along with a bit of a battle for third. Robertson catching up in Remus, but dropping back off of Booth as they come over the Schoenberger rod. And now breaking into Schloss Gold. Let's see if he can regain that back. Doesn't quite look like it, so that was a bit of a false dawn before. At the lead of it, it is still David Schutt who had the pole before, Michael.
Yeah, and we're looking at a very nice Ryan and Ryan show. We've got the Ferrari followed by the McLaren. This is a very good matching. I've driven both of these cars, not just in the sim, but in real life. And I can tell you, they feel different. They're very similar in the way they're laid out. But look how close he gets up underneath them there. That's Ryan Wasilewski trying to get side by side as we go into the penultimate corner. This is a very fast turn. Get way outside. There is a lot of leeway for you to get super wide out there and then put the hammer down. As long as you don't get too much of the grass coming right there, you're able to make the pass stick. And wow, look at that. He's going to lose another one. We've got a Porsche trying to come up the inside. That's going to be Wayne Castile closing up into turn one, but pinching him down onto that apex. Wow, that's some good racing. Very well done. Good mind of position from both of those drivers.
A lot of respect shown as well, but this is definitely helping Wasilewski run away. Oh, unfortunately, not enough room given. Coming down into Remus is Robertson and Pies come together. Thankfully, they get turned straight in time. Not sure what kind of damage that is going to do between them. Robertson having a heck of a ride there, Michael.
That was some stunt driving going on right there. I'm sure there's a great deal of luck that was involved, but you know, sometimes luck finds its way to you when you've got the talent to bring it. So I think there was some talent involved in that as well.
So that puts Robertson down in 7th. Pies up to 5th. Castile gets 4th from all that action happening. And look at this train that is now forming up behind Robertson once again. But this time it's being led by Haley. He's got Luke Schmidt in there, who is currently our leader of the AM category in the GT cars.
And a good movement in the GT class. We've got Joey Atterbury sitting in P6 in the GTs right now. He is up 6 positions from where he started. He is going to be our second BMW on this in this group. So Joey Atterbury, fantastic driver. Know him. We used to race together back in the day in Mitcham Motorsports. Fantastic driver. I would be watching him to move up a bit here.
Yeah, he's right now trying to catch up to Christopher Pies, who isn't too far up the road and might have a little bit of damage on the nose from that contact with Robertson. So watch to see if he catches him along some of these long straights. Not a track, Michael, where you really want to damage the front of the car too much.
No, any damage here is really going to get compounded. Some tracks you feel like, okay, well, if I can just tuck in behind somebody, if I've got a little aero damage, not a big deal. But here, everything, if you get just even a tiny bit of a bend in your wheel. Oh, and we got one around. That's going to be Wasilewski.
Oh, man, after that great pass that he made before, now he is falling backwards, and he might be joined by our leaders in the prototype soon, because the top 3 are now slicing through the GT cars. Fialo, Ooms, Darling have jumped away, but Darling gets held up at Schlossgold. He drops back a few tenths ahead of him. Fialo and Ooms approaches the next group of cars. With how short the lap is, with how simple the track is here, Michael, there's not much There's been not much time for them to separate.
Yeah, with the track this short, you're going to have very quick overlaps. We see this in every racing series that comes here, and I don't mean just in multi-class. I mean any racing series, because you've got different driving skill that you bring to the track. Now watch how we go here. That was a nice use. See, watch him dodging in and out. They're trying to get just a little bit of draft as they go up through here, and then that's kind of late, kind of dangerous to get in there. But I think these LMP2s are able to brake late enough, even though they are going significantly faster, they're able to brake just a little bit later and get through there. But a little pinch down from that Porsche. Ooh, that was close.
Riding on board with the mantra here, Bill, how many times have we seen as a big checkup in front of them doesn't cause a wreck, thankfully, but how many times have we seen traffic management play such a huge part in your success in Autobahn?
That was Dale Green that almost got a bit of a LMP2 in his back seat there. Incredible. I was out racing this thing, and Michael, it's 2.5 miles around. It seems even shorter than that, and we got a pass for the lead, maybe. And nope, they settled down. Boy, it is nothing but traffic out there. One thing, Michael, I did see, though, when I was feeling it, I think it's going to be easier to get around these cars than some of the other tracks. The racing line is pretty well defined.
the racing line is well defined, but in these prototypes, you're not really pushing the car as hard, especially when you get caught up in traffic. And I think you can take alternate lines in that car fairly easily. The times I've driven it here, it feels like, yeah, I can take a little bit of an alternate line through this and not get held up too much. As we watch, here's our lead pair coming up into turn one, catching up very close to the front end of this GT field. They are just slicing and dicing through, and it's not really slowing them down that much because they're still running. Our leader was his best lap was 19, and he just ran a 23. So it's not too bad a traffic holdup.
It is a holdup for Paul Darling. Unfortunately, he's lost touch to them by about 1.5 seconds at this point. But Ooms is keeping the pressure on. You called it earlier, Bill. He was trying to take advantage of some of that traffic at this point a lap ago. He might get another shot here. Look at all these cars.
Man, it's never ending. It is. There are opportunities left and right for these guys.
And we're about to see something kind of. So Joey Atterbury, I know I keep coming back to him. He is right on the tail of Chris Pites, but not too far behind him. We're going to see in less than a lap, I think, we're going to see Fiallo and Ooms coming through, maybe even Darling. So Atterbury trying to set up his opportunity to pass, but look what's right behind him. These spaceships of the LMP2s, they are closing up. Is it going to hurt him or is it going to help him? Let's watch as they come right up into turn one, crossing the start-finish line, about to go into the braking zone.
Ooms is getting dangerously close there. We weren't on them when it happened, but he actually made a little bit of nose-to-tail contact on Fiallo, almost like he was giving him a heads-up NASCAR style. I'm still here, and making sure that he doesn't take his eyes off that rear-view mirror. They're coming up to another group once again. Castile, Booth, and Schutt. These are your top three in the GT Pros right now, and Schutt's been having connection problems as well, which just complicates things all the more.
Yeah, he had some connection problems right at the start of the race, too, just as they were about to take off, which I'm sure was really confusing for Booth, who was sitting in P2 at the time, and still in P2, because you're waiting for that leader to go. You're waiting for that pole sitter to go. And when he's flashing due to connection problems, that can be challenging. As we watch, once again, Joey Atterbury trying to take his line. He's like, this is my race. I got a race going on here. I realize you want to do something. But look, I am right on the tail of this guy. Don't get in my way. As he cuts up underneath, beautiful move. Tries to slide the car just inside there, holding onto it. Now he's going to move out to sit in behind that prototype. Is that going to give him the speed he needs to get down into the penultimate corner? Trying to go around there. Ooh, just putting the nose right up inside. Oh. Come on, my side, no. Takes them both out.
And they spin to the inside to the pit entry. They should be allowed to rejoin the track, although they got to try and find a safe place to do it. And it's going to be a little ways up the road for both of them before they are able to rejoin. And it's what cost them multiple positions. It was a brave move, but it did not pay dividends.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of maybe bravado there. It's hard to say, and I'm not even sure which side it came from. They were both fighting for the corner, and it looked like they were going to give each other the space. But sometimes, honestly, one of the things I feel is when I'm working a race in iRacing, I don't feel like I have the spatial awareness. Even in VR, ooh, as we got another one around, another one goes around. Now everybody's just trying to get their positions back, and I think everyone's feeling a little froggy at this point.
Yeah, that's Luke Schmidt, who pulls right back in front of Franco Margarella. I think that was actually his a teammate there. We haven't talked about the team's championship yet, but that is a thing, and that's why you're seeing cars in different classes with similar paint schemes, as you have a driver in each class scoring points here in Autobahn. And unfortunately, kind of picked an awkward time to get back in there, and behind them, another spin. Things are starting to unfold. William Marsala involved. Sheldon Rosenbaum had to take off track to avoid it, and it looks like Dale Green is the one that gets turned around in his Ferrari as well.
Yeah, it's getting to be a little bit crazy out there. I think these guys need to settle down. They've got 47 and a half minutes left in this race. They're being way too aggressive for this early. This is last lap shenanigans we're watching. Only 15 minutes.
Sorry,
in.
Schutt just lost the lead. Something's happened to Shutt, and Ross Booth and Castile are both ahead of him. I saw them just finish the move coming through the first corner, so I don't know if this was set up before then or what exactly happened, but Booth managing to get to the point.
Yeah, Booth finally getting into the lead, been sitting in P2. And if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. He's ready to change that view. And unfortunately, that puts David Shutt back into P3.
So I was able to investigate what happened as Dominic Dornberg tried to cut inside in the final corner. That put him off the apex. Shutt didn't have the speed, and the other two behind him basically capitalized as soon as they saw that door open. So that is what bumped him down to third. He's not out of it yet. He's still close behind. The race is not over.
Yeah, not over by a long shot. As I was mentioning a minute ago, we've got 3/4 of an hour left in this race. There's no point in trying to be too aggressive at this part of the race. You kind of need to sit back, get into your groove, and then just let the race come to you. One of the things I was working on teaching one of my clients recently is if you have to force a pass to be made, it's not your pass yet. Those passes will show up if you're just patient. Now, patience and race car drivers, you don't think they go together, but they really do.
Yeah, for the good ones, it does. But we'll see who has patience among these three, because Castile's starting to look like he's applying that pressure to Ross Booth as well. He could try and make a dive into Remus, but we've often seen drivers not be able to hold on to the place if they make the move here into the hairpin. He shows his nose and then gets back to the racing line. So not a serious attempt from the 3 car yet. Ironically, we've got the 3 racing the 03, if that's not confusing enough for you. Booth leading the way currently in his Porsche.
Yeah, the Porsche once again back out front. Looks like P1 and P2 are being held by the Porsche, with David Shutt, our pole sitter, sitting there in that BMW looking for a way to get back through. He's not in a bad position. He did get past and he was leading, and now he's back in P3. But honestly, this is not a bad place for him to be. He can sit back here now and not have to worry about maintaining the pace. All he's got to do is stick behind the wing and let that big giant Porsche-sized air, whoa, as we watch him get a little bit wiggly there. That was Wayne Castile trying to come off the corner there. Got on the power just a little bit too soon, or maybe caught a little bit too much curbing. Wow, that was close, and that allowed Shutt to close back up a little bit. But you saw he was very wise, very smart, pulled back out of it. Had it been the last lap, he probably would have gone for it. But again, we got 45 minutes left in this race. No point in making that pass now.
This is definitely putting everyone on edge, and we've had a change for the lead in the prototypes now. Jeffrey Ooms has gone by Fialo once again, using the traffic to his advantage, and Dion does not have an answer quite yet. He is close behind, but as they went through the GTs down into Schloss Gold, he snatched that one up.
Fialo had been struggling. He missed the breaking point in Remus a couple laps ago, and Ooms almost got him there. Ooms has been pressuring him. I want to jump away from that real quick. I want to go down to 8th position if we could. I guess it's, well, where'd he go? Oh, no, yeah, it sure is.
Yep, that's Kundinger just going by Mo Islam now, and he slices his way into 8th position. Looking forward, both of them are up 3 spots, so they've both got a nice little gain here in the early stages of this race. Next up for them is going to be Paul Gibson. They're all kind of hitting some of that traffic once again, and this might be sister teams here that these drivers are racing for. I need to double check.
And just like last round where Kundinger was racing with Dornberg, his teammate, and they worked their way through, now he's racing with Islam, and they're going through theirs very well. I'll tell you, Remus is the action quarter. Man, that is, what is that, quarter number 4, I believe it is, when they number them? Man, that's a tough one. Guys are struggling there.
Yeah, I think that's 3 because they count little jink going up the hill as a corner. It all is pretty confusing.
You're right, it is 3. That's right.
That's why I keep calling them by name instead. I cannot keep track of the numbers on this one. But as they now once again reapproach a lot of this traffic, how much is this going to affect this fight? They, man, are just almost shoving Scott Angelo out of the way as they fly through Rauch and back into Vert once again. Now getting behind Dale Green. He stays off to the left-hand side. Is Mo Islam going to get him before they get to Rent? He just manages to catch him in time, but he definitely was offline, and Gundinger starting to stretch that gap.
Yeah, running through Jochen Rindt right there. That is a very interesting corner because the track gives you so much opportunity to run wide on the exit there. And I think it was a smart move from both the GT driver and the LMP driver, allowing themselves that extra space on the outside so that that move could be made safely.
Let's quickly, before we leave this class, let's go back to second position with Dion Fiallo. I told you he was struggling. Look, it's not far now. Paul Darling is really close to the gap as he gets around those two GT3s cleanly. Nice job there from Attenbury getting out of the way, as well as Iverson.
Darling's about half a second back from Fiallo. Now that Ooms has passed him, he's off like a shot. It's about 2 seconds up to the point. Darling trying to see if he can chase down, get into second place. The top three have not changed positions other than Ooms and Fiallo swapping it back and forth a couple times. But they're back to where they began this race, and first, second, and third. And he is now right there. It's down to 0.3 of a second. He's got some more traffic up ahead of him, Bill. I think opportunity looms if you're Paul.
Yeah, and Michael, I wonder if traffic isn't kind of a levels the table a little bit, or Fiallo was the fastest qualifier. Well, no, he qualified second. Let me apologize on that, but he seems to not be as efficient in traffic as some of the veterans are here.
Traffic is, like rain, traffic is one of the great equalizers. Rain is the great equalizer, but traffic, being able to manage your car running through traffic and watch what's going on and have trust for the drivers that you're coming up on, especially out of class traffic, you have to be able to manage that. And if you're good at it, you won't have too many issues. If you're not good at it, it's going to kill your lap times, and you're going to end up destroying your tires because you're over braking for corners and you're spinning your wheels coming off of them, and things get out of sync and you're just not driving as well. But if you can manage where you choose to go around the car by just a little bit of a lift as you're coming off of a corner to time it for the exit of the next corner, or you're able to just get down inside and make that pass like we saw before when we watched the two cars going through, I believe it was Jochen Rindt corner. Those types of opportunities, when they present themselves, a good driver will set that up beautifully, and a bad driver will struggle with it.
It looks like they've separated briefly. It's back up to about half a second. So we jump over to the lead in the GT Pro because Castile is riding right on the bumper of Ross Booth. Now, that said, I was watching this, Michael, and he probably could have attempted to pass into Lauda and chose not to. I wonder if Wayne is thinking fuel here and is trying to save a bit before we get to the pit stops.
Well, yeah, both of these guys are P1 and P2, that's Booth and Castile, have both had a great opportunity to sit behind the guy who's in third place, David Schutt, for quite a while. And I think they both are trying to think ahead. This is a long race. You have to think towards the end of the race. You can't just go, I want to make the fastest lap. Well, you can, but it won't really do you a whole lot of good. So when we're watching these guys and you see these opportunities open up, one, maybe just a little bit too far back, where it's too much of a risk to make it, especially this point in the race. But also, like you said, fuel saving. Fuel saving is going to be absolutely one of the top things on their mind right now.
Yeah, we're seeing almost a carbon copy of it right now as he's got himself about 2 or 3 car lengths behind Booth up the hill, but still not doing anything with it. Not as good of a passing zone into Lauda, maybe up into Remus. This will be more telling if he gets a good run here. Doesn't look too spectacular. He'd have to make quite a bit of a lunge, so not really going to be able to tell much on that one, at least for the time being. Those pit stops are looming ever closer. Within about 8 minutes, we're hitting the halfway mark, and we'll see who tries to cut it perfectly in half. That was a bit of a strange decision there from the LMP2 to go on the left-hand side of Castile. That was Jeffrey Ooms, actually, our leader.
Yep.
That was unusual.
Yeah, he's been taking some creative racing lines. I've seen him go off in the grass a little bit, and now this is unofficial, so I can't. Incidence points are iffy, but I got him as 12, so we're not even halfway there, and he's halfway to his mark. But you never really know if I'm getting the right number or not. But man, it takes my breath away to watch these guys work traffic.
Yeah, it's, I think, one of the most impressive things, and it's been a feature of Autobahn since the very beginning. If anything, it's changed significantly with the fact that we do only have the LMP2s and the GT cars, and the AM category is still the same car. It's just driver rating is different. Before, we've had 3 different ones, and that was even more chaotic, which I'm sure those who are watching probably would find that hard to believe. Oh, and look at this. We got Billy Smith in. So the first of our LMP2s to bite the bullet is going to be coming in from, I believe, the top 5 here. We'll see where this winds up putting him.
Indeed, and the window's not going to be nearly as big for the LMP2s as it is for the GT3s. You know, you could, if you were in the GT3s, I guess you could come in early and try to snake them, but Michael, you're racing with a heavier car for most of the time if you come in before your tank's empty.
Well, yeah, but at the end of the race, you're still going to be at the same point. You're going to take on the same amount. And sometimes it's really interesting. I found one thing, especially in the Porsche, is I find the car to be fastest about 3 laps from the end, 2 to 3 laps, depending on the track length, from the end of the tank. So not when it's at its absolute lowest, a couple of thimblefuls of fuel left in there, but when you've still got a little bit of fuel up there in that front-mounted fuel tank. So watch, oh, good pass, trying to get up on the inside. Oh, we're too wide going. This is a difficult place to go too wide. You really need that outside, holding on to that inside spot. But watch this for the over-under. Is he going to be able to come back around, trying to put the hammer down? Does he get side by side? Oh, and we have a little bit of contact and an LMP coming through. The LMP is able to take an alternate line, a very wide alternate line getting through there. And now this race is starting to get, oh, no, going around in the penultimate corner.
That's Jesse Line, who was in that battle with Mitchell Johnson, and unfortunately all washed away. And he is off to the side of the track, falls to 15th in the GT cars. It looks to be about, I'd say, 13th in the GT Pros. For what it's worth, it is Matthew Gosh right now who is leading the AM category. He's 9th in the GT cars. And the battle is not over, though, if you are Mitchell Johnson, because I noticed that this creeping up to them during that battle, Michael, that Matthew Gosh here, who is your leader in that AM category, has been just kind of looming larger in the mirrors now.
Yeah, he's only about half a second off of Mitchell Johnson right now, but right behind him, Johan Shirazi. He's probably our biggest mover. He's up 10 positions already. Although, no, we do have Shane Hunter a little bit farther back and Patrick McDaniel in the AM class, but in the Pro class, that's pretty good from Johan. He's up 10 positions. He's trying to hold on a bit as well. If I were in Johan's shoes, I definitely want to get around the AM. It's not that the AMs are any slower, but it's just it's a pride thing. If you're the pro, you don't want that AM to be beating you. So I think we might watch some pit stop shenanigans here, trying to maybe do an overcut or an undercut.
Speaking of those pit stop shenanigans, Billy Smith's back out, and he returns 16th in class for the prototypes. He's, I don't think there is such a thing as clear air out here, Bill, with 58 cars around, well, 57. It looks like Luke Schmidt's in pit lane, but 57 cars around a 1 minute, 20-second lap.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter if you're clean for a few corners and then you're back at it again. But he did have a nice stop. He got in clean, he got out clean, and he's a veteran, so he knows what he's doing. Quickly, can we look at car number 69, currently running 4th? He's having a good run. Let me correct myself. He's in, well, come on now.
He's in 4th place,
He's in 4th. Okay, there we go. We're talking about Nate Gruselski having a nice run. Up 3 spots. All by himself, very, very clean. Just want to give him a little love for doing a good job.
Yeah, considering how much action we've seen in these LMP2s and the way that those top 3 have streaked away, this is a good effort by him. He's about 7 seconds behind Darling, who is our 3rd place driver currently. So he'll need some help or an improvement in pace if he wants to try and reach the podium, but not impossible, as we've seen in this series, because there's still a lot that can happen here today. Haven't seen any other takers for what I believe would be a scheduled stop, except maybe Sheldon Rosenbaum. I do see he has just come out of pit lane down in the AM category, so that might be as scheduled stop. Mark Kudrowski has been in. That was 4 laps ago. That'll probably be close as to whether that was within the pit window, but we'll find out in about 32 minutes time as we go side by side for the lead. On the inside, it's Castile with Booth trying to defend. That's not the worst place to be here at Remus. He could try and get the throttle down a little bit better, and he does. It's a drag race now, Michael, on their way down to Schlossgold.
Now it's going to be interesting running down the straight here. Who can break later? But it looks like it was just a little bit better application of the throttle as they went out of turn 3, now down into 4, or I think it's 5 at this point, because the straight isn't straight. I forget if they count that as a turn or not, but holding on. And I think this is just a little bit of show of dominance here. Hey, look, you might be able to sit in front of me, but I'm letting you know that is my choice that you're in front of me. As we watch him here, just a little touch of the brakes trying to go into the second part of this double left, put the power down. You get a lot of that green stuff on the right side. You can get the car all the way over there. As long as you just have a little bit touching the red and white curbing, you're still good. Now we come up into the penultimate corner, Jochen Rindt, as we drop the car down in there. This is all downhill. The car is going to compress as we come through the apex of the corner, put the power down, and then off back towards turn 1.
So Booth retains the lead, but Castile's clearly ready to try and get up to the top spot. Maybe he's thinking it's getting close to where I want to pit in. I don't need to be riding behind him anymore. Let's see if he has another go at things. Out of turn 1, out of Lauda, up towards Remus. He's close, but I'm not seeing a pass, at least right now, unless he really tries to surprise him. Doesn't show his nose. He's going to sit in line. Now, as for David Schutt, because we haven't talked about him after he lost that lead for a while, he's back about a second and a half and doesn't seem to be gaining on them all that quickly. So I wonder if this is a case of maybe clean air being a bit of a factor.
It could be a little bit of clean air. Sometimes these cars will run hot, although I don't think our temperatures are anywhere in the range for that to be a real worry, because currently it is about 73 degrees. That's about 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Celsius. So Fahrenheit. Yes, that's what I was saying. So 22 and a half degrees Celsius, about 73 degrees, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature, not too much to worry about. They should be able to run nose to tail. I think he may have been trying to pull away a little bit too much early on, so he is looking to save some tire at this point.
Meanwhile, don't have to go to it, but Nate Olson and the 32 is in pit lanes. The second of our prototypes to pit in as we come off of the final corner once again. Thought that Castile would have a good opportunity because, man, was he close there at the end of the lap, but dropped off through the final couple corners. And now he's got to regain that time. Still not seeing any of those up towards the front of the field of the GT cars pitting in yet. So we await patiently to see who chooses to try and go for that one. Sounds like you've noticed something about Wasilewski here, Michael. What's happening?
Yeah, Wasilewski, one thing odd to note is he's driving a McLaren, but he has a 911 as his number. He has been kind of yo-yoing here as he's been coming up on Park. So Park has been kind of holding on to it, and I've watched Ryan get in as close to about 1.5 tenths, and then he lets the car drop back, and then he brings it back up. I think he's just trying to set up his timing for a pass here. So I suspect we'll see a pass probably within the next 2 or 3 laps. They have a lot of clear space in front of them, not too much stuff happening behind him. So this would be the best opportunity for him to try to make that pass if he's going to do it.
By the way, I'm extremely jealous of you saying that you've gotten to drive a real MP4 12C before. I would love to get to just sit in one, let alone be able to drive it. Nate Gruselski is in and out, and is actually out ahead of Olson, who is out ahead of Billy Smith.
Yeah, Joe, Olson's flying. Remember, Smith came in and he was up well up the order. Olson jumped him in pit lane. So these two guys, Grukelski and Olson finished second last round, so he's a-coming, and he's right behind him now. That's going to be a nice battle.
Real quick, before we get to the thick of the pit stops, we're going to take a short break here on FDF.GG, so don't go away. ground. Nathan Olson had nowhere to go and basically came into the side of him. So that's compromised both their races. Gosh is in the pits, as it looks like we got a replay of that incident here, Bill. Down into Schlossgold, hard under braking, and there's the touch with the car ahead.
Oof, that's not fun. That was just being a little bit overzealous from the 69 car there. I think. I lost which car it was that made the contact with the car in front of him. Just a little bit too overzealous. Had the opportunity to back out of it a little bit. Probably should have just taken just another 1/10 of a second on the brake pedal.
Well, what was a good run for Gruselski has come to an unfortunate end. He got a meatball flag from that contact. He's parked it, and he's now out of the race. So that is actually our second retirement. Justin Kirby's already retired from the prototype class. We've also seen Jesse Lyon and Chad Nobles that have retired in the GT class. Apologies if you guys are just now hearing us. We had some technical issues. Now it sounds like our mics are good to go. And it looks like Ross Booth and David Shutt have both pit in. Bradley Haley's in there, Young Park, Mitchell Johnson. I'd say this is the end of the pit window for the GT cars.
Looking like it. We've got our GT field trying to make a mad dash. Look at them fan out there, trying to take position as they work their way up to the exit, hit that green cone. Boom, pit limiter comes off. Now it's time to boogie, but you got a really tight turn with Armco on both sides. So you got to be careful coming out onto the track that you don't damage your car trying to get out there.
Now, what's important for Booth is he got out well ahead of Castile, so he's not under threat. Schutz is out behind them as well. They've separated from that pit stop sequence. They've got Cast between them in the 42, but he still needs to take his fuel to finish up. Ed Eisenring is in 5th, but he's leading the AM class. He is another that still needs to pit in. He's one of about, it looks like 3 or 4 that still need service to wrap this up in the final quarter of the race. They shouldn't be able to go all that much longer, frankly.
Yeah, but there's also the opportunity to, at least on these cars, you can turn the motor down just a little bit. There's a fuel saving option when you're running. And I've done this before where, yeah, I'm in mode 4, which is full tilt boogie. It gives you all the power. But if you're sitting behind somebody, I'll turn that down to a 2 or a 1, or if you end up with a full course yellow, you can go to 0. But I've turned it down to a 2 or a 1 and saved an immense amount of fuel and been able to. Oh, we have somebody diving into the pit lane back there. That was that?
That's Cast. Yeah.
Yep, that was Cast trying to make the dive down in there.
Eisenring joins him. So that's the last 2 up at the front of the field that needed to pit to really sort ourselves out, and it returns it to Booth, Castile, Shutt, your top 3. Ryan Robertson has kind of been quietly working his way back into the mix and has gotten up to 4th now. He's taken his pit stop. Remember, he got involved in a little bit of an incident there early on, got turned sideways even, and eventually managed to point it back forward, and somehow is still in the hunt as he tries to keep with the likes of Scherf and Dick, but that's not for position. Those are lapped cars there in front of him that he doesn't want to be held up by. Now that we've seen Eisenring pits, Gosh is returning to the points on the AM category, and things return as they were.
Yeah, as we watch here, this is a little bit of an interesting build as we watch this group. These guys are already setting up their plan for the next 15 to 17 minutes. They want to get in here and now watch as they kind of close up, pull back, close up, pull back. Some of that is how one car is better than another. Some of it may be lap traffic, as we're watching right here. So we got the Ferrari just poking the nose out, going around there. Now he's going to try to set a pick for those cars chasing up behind him with that lap traffic. Very smart move, except for going too wide there. That could earn him a slowdown. Let's take a look as he comes through here, see if he has to bleed off some time kind of abruptly.
Oh, and our second place driver is no longer in the race. Bill Fialo making contact with lap traffic has undone him.
He did. He got into Masala there, one of the amateur drivers in the GT3. coming out of the corner. They touch sides, and he spun around. Darling picks up second now.
Yep, but he's 11 seconds behind Jeffrey Ooms, who you see on screen. So it's a massive difference between them. We're going to see if we can get the replay on Fialo. And there is him coming to a halt after he tries to restart. You can see the car crabbing. Unfortunately, we're a long ways away from the beach here in the Alps, so that one will not do.
Here you go. Just a little, boy, the LMP2s don't like the hip checks too much.
Doesn't seem like it. They're meant to be sturdy because they're endurance cars, but they're only so sturdy.
They really are tanks, though. I mean, I've been surprised at some hits that I've gotten in the LMP2. I was driving in the IMSA Invitational at the early part of the pandemic, where IMSA was running races with us actual drivers on TV. And I was running an LMP2. I had an RSR next to me, and we just had a very light touch in practice. It didn't seem like that much, but man, it took out a lot. But then I've had some serious nose to tail, and nothing happened to the car. Didn't even damage the dive plane.
Yeah, the mysteries of this car sometimes here in the sim. Jeffrey Ooms, who we see on screen, is really trying to see if he can make some more distance. He's up to 12 seconds and has had some adventures out there slicing past the GT cars. Let's hope that he keeps it safe because he's got such a buffer, really doesn't need to risk the car.
Yeah, in class racing, he's never safe. 12 seconds might as well be 1.2 seconds. But yeah, Joe, I think what I've been watching here lately, he's been not the same aggressiveness that I saw earlier on to get the gap. I think he's just, he's looking for two in a row.
Here we go. This is Billy Smith trying to overtake on Dornenberg, and he's going to go side by side up through Lauda. Better exit for Dominic there on the outside of that one. That's hard to do with that crest and that off camber through that turn, but here they go again. Going to be another fight wheel to wheel, this time though with traffic in front. Patrick McDaniel, is he going to hold them up or not? They both squirm under power trying to get the throttle down, but Dominic still has the better right foot.
Billy Smith has been coming. He had a horrible pit stop. Something happened and he fell well back in the order. He's worked his way around a couple cars and he's trying to climb through.
Still side by side as he attacks once again down through Schlossgold, making this quite the battle, almost the full lap here soon as they come back through Rauch. Nope, he has to cut back and falls in line behind him.
Working their way around Paul Slavana. Good to see Paul out there. Hey, Paul, nice job getting out of the way of those two prototypes go by.
And he's sticking with him. Coming around the last two turns now. This is where it started to erupt last time. Maybe just got a better run on Dominic, but doesn't seem like he's going to get a repeat of that one, or will he?
Well, I don't know. He's got to run.
Yeah, looking very fast in a straight line. Billy has definitely trimmed out that car, but it just wasn't enough. He thought about it, and I'm not sure that he's going to be able to do it here either. We might be able to jump on over to something else. Yeah, he's a little too far away because, Michael, you've noted something about Cast here.
So Cast is right up on the tail of Nicholas Davis. Davis is in the AM class. He's currently 4th in the AM class, and that's going to be 13th overall, with Cast in 14th right behind him. Cast has been looking just a little frustrated trying to get around him. It's not really a battle for position, except it is for the overall. So I think Cast is really trying to reel him in and having a little bit of an issue here from time to time. Traffic has played to his favor and against him on the last 2 or 3 laps as he keeps trying to close this up. This is a little bit of Porsche on Porsche, so the cars are going to be remarkably similar, just how the driver is able to handle it. But we're going to watch, looks like a very close replay to what we just saw in the LMP class, where he's able to close it up. Now, he's got an opportunity here. If he can get on the power very quickly and not let that rear end slip around too much, he could close up all the way down this long, I guess there is a turn in the middle of it as we head up to turn 3, and that gives him the opportunity to head down the straight into that downhill at Schlossgold.
Let's go to Smith again. He's right alongside. I think he's going to get the pass made this time.
He's going to go for it up into Remus, and there you see it going three wide. No, it is still not there. That was Eisenring trying to stay out of the way of them. They've also got Leif Peterson, but don't worry, he's not for position. He's a lap down. Been having a bit of a bad day here, it seems, for him, because usually he's a lot higher up the order. This could be decisive for Dordenberg. He just manages to get past. No, he overshoots the corner. He's into the kitty litter, and Billy Smith says, thank you. That's the easiest pass I've had all day.
Boy, he's been pestering him and pestering him and pestering him. And he finally got him to make a mistake.
I wonder if that's maybe what he was going for there. Not necessarily trying to get that pass done, but just hoping that something would open the door. By the way, you talked about the incident points a little bit earlier, Bill. We have had at least one driver that fell afoul of that. Justin Kirby has been disqualified for incident points already.
It's funny, the series officials were coming and saying in the forums, it's not like the track doesn't have these well-marked white lines to tell you where to race.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I keep saying. It's up to you to try to drive it within the boundaries, and it's the same for every single driver. There's some serious stuff here going on for 8th place. Dornenberg has managed to get back going, and now he's got another car chasing him because Vance Bow is in that orange and blue machine, just kind of hovering back behind. He emerged back on the track behind Leif Peterson. But again, not for position, so he's hoping that Peterson is able to scamper off and not be a bit of a holdup for Dominic.
Joe, I'll tell you how things have changed for me being back in there. How about Robert Tinsey, 12th in class, David Williams, 13th in class? Yikes.
I'm telling you, this is all across iRacing, I can tell you as well, Soup, that just the talent and skill level is through the roof right now. I've heard pro drivers who have actually managed to advance into the Pro Series talk on interviews about how they wanted to try and qualify for the Pro Series just because they felt like they've been left a little bit behind and see if they still had the chops to do it.
It's something else.
So yeah, it's the service has grown, and that means that just by sheer numbers, you've got more talent out there. Is this Bow managing to make a move? Not quite yet. He's going to get side by side, and there's just not enough grip coming through Lauda to finish the job. This is Dan Neese just in front of him. Actually, did something happen about? Because he was chasing on Dornberg, and now Dornberg's up the road. So instead, it's Neese that he's fighting with, and Neese is up to 9th. I'm not sure when that happened.
Yeah, and Bow has been all over the standings, man. He was as high as like 5th, then he ran into some trouble, and it's been an adventure for him.
Sounds like Mo Islam's had an issue, hearing potentially a spin, trying to see. Yeah, he spun himself coming up into Remus. Actually, this involved his teammate. I'm not sure if we've got a replay, but Carter Kundinger had to literally dive off the track to avoid him. Watch this, Bill. This is incredible heads up from the O2 to see this coming.
Goes around, and then here comes Carter.
Well, no, Carter was the one.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch it from above, watch. You'll see Carter. He's the one off to the right here.
Oh, ooh. Oh, nice. How did he know? How did he see that?
That's what I want to know. Because like that happened a split second before he turned completely down into the apex. So that was lightning reflexes to keep him out of the wall. But this driver seems to have found some problems. That's Leif Peterson, who has now called it a day. He towed it into pit lane, and now we're side by side coming up into Remus once again. Here is that battle once more between Vance Bow and Dan Neese.
Both these drivers racing about where they started as they go side by side.
Coming off a Schlossgold, Nice is going to hold him off. Vance Bow not going to be able to get by this time. So the 90 will have to re-rack and try again later. They've got traffic in the form of Jew and Johnson just in front of them. And Nathan is going to have to hold off to the side to let both of them pass. They've also got Josh Wolf in here in the blue and yellow machine just behind them. So it's becoming a bit of a three-car fight for ninth.
Wolf really testing the envelopes of the track there as he's really going wide to try to keep up with these guys. Nice battle going on for 9th, 10th, and 11th.
It's 5 minutes left, Bill. So, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. If he's got some incident points left, why not use them up? Yeah.
And they don't count against you so much here in league racing. People worry about how many incident points they get in regular iRacing hosted races. But once you're in a league, if you've got 19 before you're disqualified and you don't use 18 by the end of the race, you've done something wrong.
We can see Wasilewski, who is closing in on Bradley Haley, but the Comet has once again slipped away. So Ryan's going to have to re-rack and get up there. Oh, that was Josh Wolf making contact with the back of Bow, and that spins him off the track in the process.
Ooh, that was rough. That was a good attempt at a pass, but I think he may have just tried to over brake a little bit, got the rear end to swing around just a tiny bit, and maybe back to throttle too soon. But look at the back of your screen right there. That's going to be just what we were talking about. That's Wasilewski coming up on Haley. He has been closing this up once again, just as the same earlier as he came up on him. A little bit of flash of the lights. That is totally mind games. That is absolutely mind games. But watch how close he gets here. He is only about half a second off of him, but closes it up beautifully coming through that final corner, through the A1 corner, across start finish and up to turn one. This is a battle that's really going to get lit up right here in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, there's just not much time to try and do anything. So Wash is going to have to really be on the ball. He'll have to be aggressive to try and make a move or hope that traffic opens the door for him at some point through here. Let's see if there is. Well, they got Josh Wolf coming back through, but he's not battling anybody now. Behind them, Robert Tinsey would be the next one back. So they do have a couple cars coming, but not super quickly, and they're not in fights.
You're talking about Josh Wolf when incident points. Joe, that's not the way we were asking him to use up his incident points.
This is true.
Yeah.
And that's the downside. That's the thing that I kind of wonder about when guys do that is if you have that moment that you just didn't anticipate happening because everybody makes mistakes, then suddenly you find yourself DQ'd.
Yeah, DQs are never fun, especially when they catch you by surprise. You didn't think you spun enough to get those 2 points, and you had only one to the good. Well, that one will catch you out of nowhere, and whoops, okay, I'm one over. What do I do now? But hey, let's take a look back at this race. It looks like Wasilewski got caught up with the traffic. That LMP coming through kind of took him off just a little bit, but once again, he is back up to about 0.7 of a second. He has been as close as about 1.5 tenths.
Should get bonus points for being the prettiest car out there. Man, those McLarens are good looking.
And spit and fire like a dragon.
Yeah, gotta love them.
Well, he's only going to have 2 more laps here to try and make this pass because Ooms just crossed the line and he's not that far behind, so he's likely to be catching up to them soon and overtaking. If not, it could be 3 laps then that they'll have to try and wrap this up, but it'll be tight. Is this a battle just behind them? Because this is Robert Tinsey and David Williams. And I didn't think we'd say this a couple years ago, Bill, but Robert Tinsey and David Williams are battling for 12th.
Yeah, we've seen these guys battle for race after race after race, but usually not this far down the order.
Certainly not. Close to being lapped, actually. Last 2 cars on the lead lap right now. And unfortunately, finding some traffic balking them. Williams takes advantage. He gets to the inside. He's going to take the position. Oh, but it's not done yet. Oh, just finding their way around the Ferrari with enough space.
Oh, no.
And the one is sent flying off into the barriers.
Sweet sassy Molassie, there goes David Williams into the beach.
And the white flag is out for Jeffrey Ooms. 1 lap to go. Where is Wash? Well, Wash is just being overtaken by him right now. It is now white flag for Washaleski. And Haley's just in front of him. They're going to be split by our leader temporarily. That does, unfortunately, put them slightly farther apart.
Yeah, the traffic, again, traffic plays a part. You have to know what's going on around you. And again, a good spotter is worth their weight in platinum, not just gold, because you need to know who's coming, when they're going to reach you. A good spotter will tell you, I think you're going to have contact here probably in 2 corners or so.
So the 50 comes down and around Schlossgold, just a few more corners. He's got 11 seconds over Paul Darling. He has the buffer to try and take this easy because Dale Green and Robert Tinsey are in front of him. Obviously, Tinsey in the same class, so not likely to catch him. But as he gets up to these GT cars, he can really take his time from here to the finish. Nice, easy pass on Green. Up on the way into Rent and out of the last couple corners. Jeffrey Ooms going to go back-to-back wins to start the season here in the prototype class. Just ahead of him, Booth managed to cross the line. He's in fact going to be one of the last cars to come back around. Where is Gosh is the question. Looks like Gosh is actually coming up to the final corners himself. There he is in the BMW. Hasn't looked like he's been hassled at all this race. The 222 is going to win the AM category in the GT cars.
A couple of seconds back from him, Trent Brown looks like he'll bring in P2 with Corey Ensing bringing in P3. But back up to the front of the GT class, it looks like it's the Ross Booth show today. He's got quite a gap to the cars behind him. Wayne Castile, good bit back. I don't think he's got too much to worry about. But if we take a look here, that Porsche just gliding on down to the finish. There is his next closest competitor right behind him there, but that's a big gap. I don't think he's got too much to worry about. He can kind of take it mildly easy, not too much, trying to come around here. You can take so much green there. That's a lot less than he's taken on any other lap. Coming up into the penultimate corner, just trying to get right on that apex. Hopefully this LMP2 stays out of the way, coming through the A1 corner, power down, so not taking as much of that exit as he had been. Crosses the finish line, and that puts Ross Booth as our winner in the GT Pro class.
2 in a row for Booth.
Absolutely, yeah. 2 in a row for both the prototypes and the GT Pro winners. The only non-repeat we have here in this round is Gosh, who with Rat Tray taking the win last time out at Daytona. Oof, that was an interesting one, no doubt, and a precursor to what we have coming this season. I look forward to seeing them racing this hard all season long. I believe that will take us to the results for this one. And as we mentioned, Jeffrey Ooms was your victor up in the prototypes from the pole, but he wasn't up at the lead for the entire time. He had to fight Diallo for much of the race. Fiallo, I should say. And unfortunately, we did not see him on the podium. Instead, it was Darling who inherited that second place. And Nathan Olson doing a fantastic job, despite some damage midway through, winding up in third. It was Paul Gibson in P4, followed by Carter Kundinger in fifth position. After that, Mo Islam was P6, Billy Smith seventh, and Dominic Dornberg in eighth. Vince Bow, P9, after starting from sixth, just couldn't keep up today. He did beat Dan Neese in the end, who rounds out your top 10. And I'll just finish out the prototypes that saw the checkered flag here. Josh Wolf and Robert Tinsey, last ones to wind up on the lead lap, and Chris Sherburne was a lap down. David Williams, a DNF right at the finish. He should still score points, but was not able to get to the checkered flag. Everyone from there on down also not able to get to the finish. Michael, what about your GT Pros?
Well, we just watched Ross Booth take a very nice lead, little slower on that last lap, just kind of cruising it around. Just under a second back was Wayne Castile in P2. David Shutt, who was our pole sitter, unfortunately fell back into third position. Ryan Robertson bringing that Ferrari up into fourth. Bradley Haley holding on to fifth position with Ryan Wasilewski in the McLaren, just having a beautiful fight trying to get up there. Young Park in the Porsche, Nathan Jew and Mitchell Johnson. And then the beginning of our GT AM class, three of them right together, Matthew Gosh, Trent Brown, and Corey Ensing, our podium in the AM class. Robert Cast, 25th. In his Porsche. Behind him is another AM, Nicholas Davis. Chris Pites brings in the next spot for the pro category with one of his racing buddies, guys I race with all the time, Ian Simon, in the amateur class. Right behind him in P30 overall. 31, we're looking at Joey Atterbury, who had a really good run early in the race, a little bit of trouble there at the end, followed by Ed Eisenring, Franco Margarella, Robert Rattray, who was our winner in the AM class last time at Daytona, Patrick McDaniel, Shane Hunter, Paul Slavonic, Jason Iverson, Mark Kendrowski, and Sheldon Rosenbaum, rounding out our top 40. Joe?
David Perry was next for the AM class in 41st, Johan Shirazi 42nd, and then you've got Dale Green 43rd. From there, Jake Hicksum was 30th in class, with Matt Scherf winding up 31st, and Chad Dick after him. Scott Angelo also managed to get to the checkered flag, 47th overall, but 33rd in class. You get to William Marsala, who was our first DNF, and everybody from here on down did not manage to finish our 60-minute race today. Does look like we have our AM winner ready to talk to us, as Matthew Gosh going to be joining with Michael Johnson here in the booth, having beat off two drivers within about 5 seconds of him at the line for the podium.
So, Matthew, quite a race there at the end. Congratulations on this win.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was fuel saving for probably 5 of the last 7 laps, and the last 2 I turned it up because Trent was coming. So
you could feel him breathing down your neck. It was time to turn the power back up. Were you doing the lift and coast type thing, or were you changing the fuel mix on the wheel? What were you doing?
I went to map 2 and did some lift and coast. I could just see Trent on the relative taking chunks of time away, and knew if he got to me, he's got a lot more laps in this car at this track. We worked together on our PG-13 team, and I knew if he got to me, he'd probably get by me pretty quick.
So the last race, the Porsche was the car to be in. For you this time around, it looks like the BMW was clearly the easier car to drive, at least in your hands. Are you going to be sticking with the BMW as the season goes on, or are you looking at trying some of the other cars?
I think that's the plan. We ran pretty much every car for a pretty good amount of time. The BMW just felt the most well-rounded, but we don't have to make a choice till next week, so who knows what could change between then.
So did the race unfold kind of as you felt it should have? Did you kind of have a plan going forward that you were going to kind of stick where you were, or did you get a couple of surprises along the way?
It was pretty much chaos at the beginning. Everybody's just on top of each other in the GT3 class. And then the first couple rounds of P2 lap traffic was pure insanity. My spotter was going nuts. Car left, car right. But other than that, the race was pretty smooth. Trent and I were just talking earlier that this track races so well. Like it unfolds pretty good here.
So anybody you have to thank for today's victory?
Yeah, definitely PG-13. Trent put a ton of time in setup for this car this week. OMG Paint Shop, CF12 Media, just all the guys at PG-13 really work well together.
So that was Matthew Gosh, our winner in the AM class. But we're going to go take a look up at the winner of the GT Pro class. And Joe has Ross Booth, our winner in that class.
Indeed, Ross. Well, congratulations. Had to work a little bit for it. Castile and Shutt kept you on your toes, especially early on. It seems like David Shutt was kind of leading the way. But how much of that in the first stages was you guys trying to save a little fuel behind him?
Not so much fuel, but trying to save those incident points. Red Bull Ring here, very tricky on those incident points, and only with 24 an hour here, just sort of pacing yourself to not run wide. Hard to save fuel here. Just the draft isn't as strong as you'd think it is. You don't go into sixth at all here, so you don't really pull up on someone and able to save enough fuel to make it worth it.
And talk about having to fight with Wayne there, because once you guys passed Shutt, didn't seem like he was as much of a factor, and it was down to you two. How was that battle from your perspective? He made a good few goes at it, just couldn't seem to get it done.
I'd be interested to ask him to see what wing angle he was on. I was on a really low wing angle, just to protect myself into the brake zones. And when we were side by side there, I was able to almost pull a full car length on him into, I guess it's T4. So I think he's running just a lot more downforce than I. And that's where, so we were like yinging and yanging back and forth on what each other were better. So it made for an entertaining race.
Well, after a track where you're zipping around here at a minute and a half, and the prototypes are just over a minute to cycle around here, and the fact we've had so many cars, are you looking forward to Road America, where everybody can maybe spread out a little bit more?
Yeah, I think Road America will be an awesome race with this many cars. It looked like the race tonight was fairly clean, which is awesome to see. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We are as well. Congratulations on back-to-back wins in GT Pro. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, just shout out to Composite Performance. We're doing great things over here, and excited for more.
We're excited as well. That was Ross Booth in the 03, taking another victory to start things off in GT Pro, which does look like it's going to wrap us up. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to the Autobahn series for bringing us on for coverage of the series. And a thank you to the team today, Michael, Soup, and Zach. Next race, as I mentioned, Road America on November 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.